Hey, everybody. This is Michelle.
And this is Julie.
Welcome to a Blonde, a Brunette, and a Mike podcast. What is our podcast all about, you ask?
Well, we're two 50-something women with life experience and, plenty to say.
Which is exactly what we're going to do right now.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We are here today with some more fun stuff involving weddings because we had a wedding segment that was related to wedding etiquette, related to kind of do's and don'ts, with weddings, and then the cost associated.
Who does what? Why?
Who does what?
When? Who, what, where, why, when?
And we came to the conclusion that there are a variety of ways that people like to do their nuptials, I guess. And it really is dependent upon
I don't like that word.
nuptials.
It sounds weird.
What does it sound?
I think of nipples.
Only you.
Nuptials.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Well, we were talking before about the weddings and the cost of weddings. And, it's interesting. I was having a conversation with my sister about this, and she actually brought up a really good point. She said a lot of the things that are tradition, even though they don't really hold the same meaning today that they would have a couple hundred years ago, having a little bit of that tradition in there is still special. It kind of makes the event special. At least that's her thought process. And so they would be individuals who have children that would be getting married. They went through the big to-do wedding just like we did.
Mark and Angie.
Yeah. They had a big, beautiful wedding and stuff as well. But, we're going to have their two children coming up. And so it'll be interesting to see if their daughter is not wanting to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I already am prepared. I already know Zoe is not going to want to do something like that. So
all eyes on her. You
no,
don't think she'll like that?
Girlfriend does not like that. And frankly, it's like if Andrew ever gets married and Amelia's in the picture, which I think she will be, she's not one that likes big crowds and all eyes on her either. So it'll just be kind of, I think what it boils down to is people need to do what makes them feel most comfortable.
Yeah.
And if they have the resources in parents, if they're, at that age where their parents might be helping them, or they have the resources as older adults, then you do what makes you happy. It's your day.
Yeah.
It just feels like there's a lot of, just in doing the research and the discussions that we've been having and everything, there's so much opinions surrounding what happens.
Well, there's opinions and a lot of different family dynamics now than there used to be. To your point, to have some of the tradition in there. So some of these stories, I think our listeners will get the gist of what we're talking about as we go through some of these. And they're not scenarios. These are like things that...
These are real stories.
Yeah.
And some of them are, here's what we're wanting to do, you guys. We want to go through some of these. Some of them are from Reddit. Some of them are from Quora, both sites that people post on. Kind of, I don't know what you would even say, similar to maybe Twitter or something. I don't know. But there, lots of different stuff on these sites. I actually kind of get lost in the minutia of scrolling through, kind of like people do with TikTok.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of cool stuff on Quora in particular that has to do with, a lot of World War II stuff and things that are just like horrible pictures that you would never see anywhere else that make you realize how awful. Like if someone said that the Holocaust didn't exist, they're smoking crack, seriously. Just whatever. Total side note. But anyway, so we have a few stories here and a few scenarios. Smoking something, man. They're smoking something. I don't know what. Just like, or they're in a huge denial.
I'm actually impressed that that that's out there. People are saying, people out there say that the Holocaust didn't exist.
Yeah, they're smoking crack.
Anyways, yeah, I was going to go into some other things on that, but that's for a whole other episode.
Well, maybe we'll do that with our next one because we have a lot of other things that we're going to talk about in our next one. So in this regard, here are some scenarios. We're just going to read a couple of these and then comment on them, and really would love to get your feedback on them as well, because everything is really dependent, right, on someone's family.
Well, and it might, as we do go through these, it might give people some good ideas on some of the situations that they might be facing with scenarios within their own wedding that they have coming up and that they need to prepare for. Example, I have a stepdad and a dad. that's not me. I'm talking about this first scenario we're going to get into. Why don't you go ahead and read it, Jules?
In this scenario, the daughter has multiple dads because parents have both remarried. The question was, has there been any drama with both dads when you had to determine who was going to be walking the bride down the aisle?
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually a lot of stuff out there about this. And in varying degrees, you would see what people were like, well, why is it that big of a deal? Because it's a patriarchal thing. And this is what I ran into. It's like, women are not cattle. They're not chattel. They're not property. And when this originated, if you dial back to when, weddings were started, I guess, the daughter was given away to the husband. There was a dowry that was provided, and that dowry was kind of like payment. And so they would take the daughter, I guess, off their hands. So now this has transitioned into things that have to do with modern day weddings. And it's just, nobody really knows how they originated. But I think when you are a 23, 25-year-old, bride, you don't necessarily care, right? You just know that it's an emotional thing if you have a father to walk you down the aisle. And in this scenario, there's a gentleman who says, and I quote, "My ex-wife married a man who is very good to our kids, always there when they need them. I didn't like him, and my daughter was getting married, and she wanted her stepdad and me to walk her down the aisle. So I did what any mature adult would do. I whined to my older sister. How could my daughter do this to me? She knows I hate him. This is so disrespectful," and on and on and on, until my sister, a wise and wonderful woman who does not mince words, said, "Shut up. This is her day, not your day. You will show up, shut up, wear what you're told, and walk wherever and with whomever she tells you." Got it? And what it boiled down to was, it was probably a really big deal for this girl to try to figure out how not to hurt people's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps she was closer to her stepdad than she was to her real dad. But like, we were talking off camera about this, and you were asking me what would happen if Zoe did that, or if someone in my family who said, "I don't want my dad to walk me down the aisle, I want you, Mom, to walk me down the aisle," or something like that. I know it would be a big, there would be a lot of drama around that.
Yeah.
And I personally am like, whatever that bride wants to do, I would be probably just fine with it. I mean, she wants to walk by herself. If she wants her dad to walk her down the aisle, if she wants her stepdad to walk her down the aisle, not my daughter, because she doesn't have a stepdad.
As you're saying this, I 100% agree. You just think of all the family dynamics that can go along with these situations. But to this sister's point that told her brother, it's her day.
Yeah.
And she needs to be able to do with it however she wants and whatever she feels she needs to do with it.
Okay, in this scenario, let me ask you this. So this dad, he's paying for the wedding.
Yeah.
Do you look at it any different?
No.
The stepdad's not paying for the wedding. No different?
So she owes him?
Well, that's why I'm asking you. It's like, would she feel
putting myself in that daughter's situation, I wouldn't want to feel indebted to my dad by having him walk me down the aisle, even though that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I have to say, who knows financially who took care of what, but yeah, she should be able to do whatever she wants. And that's that.
So I had this scenario with one of my friends a couple of years ago whose daughter was getting married, and the woman has remarried. And the stepdad is not like a dad. I mean, it's not like these are grown children now, but he's in their life and he spends time with them, but they don't call him dad. It's not like that. But their real dad bailed on them, on all three of these kids when they were young. I think she was in her teens when he bailed. And actually she got pregnant when she was 18 or 19 years old, and her dad kicked her out. And then he moved away, and he's kind of a deadbeat, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but she invites him to the wedding. And the question is, does her dad?
Oh, I would not have him walk me down the aisle.
Okay, well.
And that's not being her, but I mean, totally up to her.
Exactly. But do you see what I'm talking about here? It's like, here's this guy who's a total deadbeat, doesn't pay for shit for this wedding, doesn't help with anything, basically just shows up. And this mom has been taking care of those kids, almost lost the house a couple times, got these kids through school, supported her daughter when she had this child and gave it up for adoption, this stuff. And this dad wasn't even there. But my friend was so incredibly gracious about it. because to the point of what we're talking about here, the dad walked her down the aisle.
Oh, wow.
And the mom was probably not super happy about it, but her daughter never would have known. And I thought that was pretty gracious of her.
It's got goosebumps.
Yeah. And it's, so the daughter, to her, credit, she included her father. She's perhaps forgiven him. Who knows? There's other circumstances and things that have come up. But at the end of the day, he took that role and, walked her down the aisle when he really hadn't been in her life.
And this is actually wherein I'm thinking of the episode we did on minding your own business, because I'm sure there were plenty of whispers going with her dad walking her down the aisle and people, placing judgment and saying things, which was another part of etiquette that you shouldn't do.
Well, honestly, nobody really knew him. So it was kind of, people who'd been around this family a lot probably did, but people that were in the last 10 years or even the groom didn't really know him. But she made that decision, and it probably was a tough decision for her to make because her mom was really the one that had kind of carried her through most everything. But what I also learned is that as adults, as this woman had become an adult, she had learned to forgive and put some of those things aside. And I was really proud of her just because, it was her day. Yeah. She did it the way she wanted to do. Now, had she not done that, he really wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. But I wonder if he would have even shown up, honestly. If he wasn't playing that role. So they were able to avoid a lot of drama because the mom was gracious in that scenario. Yeah. So if the scenario was reversed and, it, was one, like I was saying before, one of our kids or something, it's like, I don't know how, because the parents have been involved more, they're around more. So it might have been more of an issue.
There's a Swedish tradition where the couple walks down the aisle together. So hand in hand.
I kind of like that, actually.
So you don't even have to worry about any of that shit. Yeah.
And I think, when you look at traditional weddings in churches, it might be a little bit different than if you have a wedding in a venue that's a non-religious venue. Yeah. You might be able to do it a little bit differently, but I can recall the guys, you were saying before, the guys walk down the aisle with their mom, and then their mom sits down and the guy stands up at the altar and waits for his bride. Yeah. It's kind of a big deal, the big reveal and everybody stands up when the bride comes in, and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of
such grandeur.
I did it all. I did it all. So it's like, I'm not throwing shade at all. I'm just more like, wow. Yeah. When I look at it now, we just did what we thought we were supposed to do. You don't even question it. This is how it is. Yeah. Which I think is a little weird, but now that I'm an adult, I look at it a little bit differently. One gal, when we were looking through some of these scenarios, solved that problem by having her dad and her stepdad both walk her down the aisle, where she walked in with her stepdad, and then halfway through, her dad was waiting, shook the stepdad's hand, took his daughter, and then went up to the altar that way. That seems like a really good way to.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a great way to solve the problem. But when you've got young people getting married, they really are not necessarily doing a lot of this thought process. They're not trying to solve these problems. They don't even know that these problems potentially even exist. So as you get older, I think you kind of will understand a little bit more of those things.
Well, and I would imagine that there's more of this that goes on now because there's a lot more blended families than there used to be. There's a lot more divorces and remarries and things of that nature. So the up and coming generations, they've had to deal with that a lot more. Whereas, yours and mine, our generation, typically we still had our dads to walk us down the aisle.
Yeah. Well, one story I was looking at, or when I was reading through, the girl had 3 dads, her real dad and 2 stepdads. Yeah. And and she was close with all of them. She didn't know what to do. So she just walked herself down the aisle. She didn't have any of them. That seems like a really logical way to do it to me. Yeah. I don't know. That's probably what I would do.
Well, nothing like getting all the attention. There you go.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Do you want to read one of these other ones?
Yes, I will. There was one where it talks about her fiance and she wanted a wedding with only close friends and family. And she has a very large family. And she only wanted to ask 10 people And her question, she was actually kind of questioning and looking for comments and how to prevent the drama of that from unfolding and choosing or determining who does what. So what they were talking about essentially was to avoid posting. These are just things that we never had to think about. Avoid posting on social media very much of your plans or what you're intending to do, because that will reduce the amount of people knowing, even if you're trying to keep it small and intimate. And from people asking if they're invited, things like that. I have noticed that with other things. Sometimes I'll put something and then somebody will say, well, why wasn't I invited or something?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, like, oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, not pre-posting too many of your plans if you're wanting to keep it.
Do you think that some of this has to do with the personality of the bride and of the groom? We're only talking about bride for a sec, but really the groom as well. And if they're like as adults, to me, that's like no big deal. That's like, well, we kept it small.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get butthurt about that.
Yeah. And social media was a big one because just like I was talking about, other things where people after the fact are like, and this is what happened, why people are going to wonder why they weren't invited to the wedding. And she was surprised too that they had people make comments about how they weren't invited to our wedding. And she said, while I understand they may have been disappointed, it wasn't a slight against them in any way. We chose to invite our closest family members. Those that we didn't invite who spoke up were family members that never really had anything to do with us. We had them as friends on social media and maybe saw them once a year for Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Maybe. So I get that. I do too. I do get that, especially, there's probably things that come into play like with finances and things like that. And if you really have to be thoughtful about that part of it, you're going to have to be really thoughtful about who you're going to have in your circle there for that special day.
I would agree with you 100% on that. I feel like as you kind of mature, you don't feel like you have so much angst. This is my feeling about it.
Yeah.
So much angst around worrying about upsetting somebody. And we had I guess would be my cousin's daughter get married this last year. And my mom was invited. So the seniors were all invited, right? But none of the kids. And I'm calling myself a kid, but you know what I mean? None of the kid or our kids or anything like that. So she's the same age as Andrew, like my kids. And I was I was fine with it. It's like, I understand they're trying to keep the wedding small, and I'm not close with this girl. I mean, she's darling, and I see her at family functions once a year kind of a thing. And she's a great kid, but I mean, it didn't hurt my feelings that she was not inviting me. But now she's pregnant and we just got an invitation for the baby shower. So I was kind of like, okay, I wasn't even quite sure what to do with that. Because I'm like, I'm okay to go to the baby shower, but I'm not okay. I don't know. I just felt kind of weird. I'm not able to go. As it turns out, it's not even on a day when I can go. So my regrets will be going out to the new mom. But I just thought that was kind of interesting that I was invited to one and not the other. Is that weird?
I totally get why you would have that thought. But I don't think it's necessarily weird that not the wedding, but yes to the shower.
Okay.
I think the shower's being put on by somebody else probably.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily her guest list. It is, but do you know what I'm saying? You know,
we kind of make your guest list, I assume.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain degree, but like somebody else is pretty much doing all that planning.
Right.
Not like when you're getting married, the bride pretty much is doing a lot of that planning and knows specifically what she's wanting. I think it's a little different for a baby shower. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not offended or anything by it. It's more just kind of like scratch my head on it a little bit.
I get why you do. Yeah. That's what I say. I totally get why.
I'm going to send a gift. Sure. And I have there's no ill will or anything. I just am not able to go. So, and I would love to see a lot of my extended family. It's far away and I'm not able to go that day.
Yeah.
So I'll just send something and give them my best. And I'm sure the baby will be darling. And I'll probably see the baby when he or she is a year old.
Because, I mean, when kids graduate, they send like announcements to as many people as possible.
Well, gee, I wonder why they do that.
I know, right? Get that, all the Benjamins in.
Yep, all the Benjamins. It's all about the Benjamins.
It's like, oh, my fifth cousin, twice removed, or whatever. Their second cousin is graduating from high school. Okay.
Hey, do you want to read this one that's the wedding drama one?
The family drama.
Yeah, it's a little long, but I think it's kind of an interesting story because these are the things that you might run across, actually.
Yes. I just got married and it was a destination wedding in Florida. My brother was an important part in my wedding, and it was important for him to come. He also was going to walk my mom down the aisle. My mom paid for his expenses, plane, hotel, suite, etc., and was going to pay for all expenses in Florida. He promised and swore up and down that he wouldn't miss it for the world. Well, the day before my wedding, as I was putting together stuff for my coordinator, my dad told me he missed his flight on purpose and will no longer be coming. His first excuse was that he was sick. The next was he lost his wallet. I cried and basically had a mental breakdown that he wasn't coming. The thing that hurt the most, he never actually told me until my husband texted him to talk to me. He told me to go F myself and that I don't need him there. I told him he's dead to me and blocked him. Haven't contacted him ever since. After the wedding was over, I found out that the real reason he didn't come because of his girlfriend needed him home. Yes, his girlfriend was invited and also promised to come, then canceled 2 days before. His girlfriend told him to miss his own sister's wedding for her, and he listened. They have only been together a couple of months, and I just felt like what he did was unforgivable. He didn't even try to congratulate us after. He could have texted my husband or my mom, but it took him a whole week to do that, and it's because my mom told him to. He's 37, by the way, and now I'm getting a bunch of crap from my mom about how I'm wrong and being a brat and need to make up with my brother because he really didn't do anything that bad. I guess what I'm asking is, how would you go about this? Would you ever speak to your sibling again, or would this be something unforgivable?
Let's just start out by saying her sibling is kind of a D-bag.
Yeah, I was thinking a dick.
37 years old, and he's being led around by his girlfriend by his nose.
I mean, so all of that aside, first of all, it's forgivable.
Yes.
I think it's forgivable because she needs to just let that shit go because it's him and not her. All of those things that he did, the lying, the promising and then breaking the promises, the staying home with her, all of it, that is all him and not her. So she needs to just let that shit go.
Mm-hmm.
Not easy. I know that's an easy say, hard do. But at the same time, it's just going to cause her continual heartache. And yes, that will always be there in her brain when she sees her brother. Like if she were to forgive and move on, it will always be there. She'll always think about it. That's something that, yes, you can forgive, but probably not forget.
Yeah.
But for her
and
own
perhaps
sanity,
over the course of time, it'll feel better. But
well-being, she just needs to,
well, he's not remorseful, and I think that's part of the issue.
That is a hard,
And what we don't know here is if they had a really good relationship, or if he's kind of a flaky dude to begin with, because he sounds pretty flaky to me. And I mean, maybe that's not how he is normally, but she obviously was counting on him, and it's her day and all of this. But to your point, I believe that something like that is forgivable. Now, is it compounded by other issues that have come up? Who knows,
Yeah.
But dealing with it head on and just saying, I'm not going to let this ruin anything else or family gatherings or what have you is probably the most adult thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've learned is that sometimes, all the time, really, you can not pick your family, but you can pick your friends. You can't pick your brother, and you can't choose how he's going to behave. And so you might make the decision down the road that you just don't want to have a close relationship with him because there's multiple things that have happened, and that's totally fine. If you're looking out for your own mental well-being and you don't want to be around people that are toxic or what appear to be toxic like this, then I say knock yourself out. But forgiving is really important, not for him, but for you.
Yeah. Forgiving, letting it go. And to your point, I think that's perfect. Like she can choose to not, it doesn't have to be a close relationship going forward. She can forgive it. We can move on, but it's not like she has to invite him over for Christmas Eve and, to their child's baptism or whatever, It's just interesting to me. It says my brother was an important part in my wedding and it was important for her that he come. So it's unfortunate. Obviously I would, from the sounds of that, I would think that they were close in some way, shape or form as siblings. So for him, maybe he was having a midlife crisis, even though he's just got a girlfriend. I mean, who knows? Whatever.
Yeah.
That she's getting married and he's not, and whatever. Who knows? But
there may be a variety. What I was going to say is that his behavior is kind of the symptom of a much bigger issue, whatever that issue is.
Yeah, for sure.
And perhaps he would have not been a great addition to the wedding had he been there. So let's just call it what it is and say the way it happened is probably the best. At least that's my thought process. Okay, I have one from Quora.
Okay,
that I wanted to share.
Yeah,
this is kind of an interesting one. So we were invited to a wedding a month ago and we send in our RSVPs on time. Today we were asked if we could only come to the ceremony because they went over the limit for the reception. Would it be rude to decline the wedding ceremony? Like, first of all, who does that? Who says, sorry, can you not come to the reception? That's so tacky. So tacky.
Agree. Even if they went over, it's like, figure that shit out. If you invited.
One of the things that I had run across is that people sometimes will over-invite because
there's fallout.
There's a ton of fallout. I think they say it's like 50 to 70% fallout, and when you're planning for food and all of those things, usually you have an RSVP count that's in advance, a couple weeks or so in advance, so catering can get set. But in this particular case, it's like, I guess too many people were going to show up and there wasn't going to be enough food. So you come up with more money, or you come up with another way to be able to manage this. That's my thought process. And absolutely, unequivocally, do not reach out to people and say, ooh, can you only come to the ceremony? Can you imagine?
I just don't know that that's even the right, or like an okay thing to do.
I mean, were you born in a barn? That's
well, okay. So to the question, I probably wouldn't go at all.
I wouldn't either.
I mean, I would just graciously decline.
Yeah, I wouldn't go at all.
So I'd say, no problem. We don't have to go to the reception or the ceremony.
Would you send a gift?
I don't know. Would you?
Well, at this point, I probably already would have put the gift in the mail.
Yeah, or had it. And yes, I'm thinking I probably would.
Yeah.
I probably would, because I'm not that much of a drama queen.
Yeah.
To do, you know what I mean? To really
send
make
a little something.
A point that way. Yeah. But yeah, so I would, I'm sure I would send something.
This makes me think of, not this, but it's like I was thinking about when I worked at Nordstrom, there was a group of women that we spent a lot of time with, and one of them was getting married. Well, this happened with two different people, but she was so secretive about it. So I don't know. It was her first wedding and everything. I don't know what it was. She didn't want us invited. We actually had like a little get together at a restaurant to have our bridal shower. We were just going to do something really casual for her. She didn't show up. She declined coming. So we had this, and so I ended up sending a gift. She was like a really good friend of ours. So it was very odd.
She didn't tell anybody that she wasn't going to come?
She declined. She just declined.
She just said, okay.
Yeah, she regrets, didn't come to whatever I don't remember where it was. It was at a restaurant or something. This is a long time ago, but my feelings were really hurt. And I recall thinking, I wish she would have just said, hey, this is going to be just close family. But it felt like it was kind of avoided. It just was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not discussed at all. And so here I am being as boisterous as I can be. And we're like, let's just have a little thing for her. Like, so she knows we think she's special. It wasn't like a big old bridal shower or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just like we would normally get together and all of us had little gifts and stuff. Yeah.
That has to do with your generosity, Jules. You're always thinking of other people. No. You're always thinking of other people. And I can just say that, just like she does things for me, like because she wants to make memories and it's important. And then I have to set the boundaries. I've gotten really good at setting boundaries with Julie. And I'm like, nope, I can't do that.
She sets boundaries with me. Sorry. Push. No, it was more just kind of like I just felt my feelings were hurt.
I'm sure.
And
I can see.
I don't think it really had anything to do with the fact that all of us were not her close friends. But then I saw some pictures from the wedding and there were a lot of people there. So I was like, okay, let's just let that one go. We're just going to let that one go.
See, just like let
here this goes back to, it's like, I'm not going to say anything because she's my friend and I don't want to ruin our friendship or anything. But I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I felt kind of bad.
Yeah.
Let it go.
That's
we have another one also with Nordstrom. She it was the second wedding for both of them. And they were so low key about it. They didn't even tell anybody what they were doing. They just basically bailed and went to Mexico. And we all found out about it. A different group of people.
So they kind of eloped.
They kind of eloped, yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, they were just so quiet about it, just so
Yeah.
quiet. So we all got together and put a gift together and sent a gift, you know, and maybe to their house or left it on her desk. I don't even remember. But it was like she just did not want any attention surrounding it. So after going through a lot of these things here, I'm kind of like, let him be, Julie. Just let him be. It's like,
Yeah.
I want to celebrate the people that I love. And so you can see how when you're looking at some of these things, how people might get upset. I mean, I don't get upset that easy. I'm kind of like, well, got my afternoon back, whatever. I don't have to go.
Yeah.
But, you know, we were never included to begin with. So stop trying to include yourself in something you're not included in. It's what that boils down to.
Inserting yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's, I don't know.
Well, there's plenty of stories though. There really is in regard to it. It's been kind of eye-opening, actually, you know, looking into, like we did last week, all the things that were talked about, reflecting on our own weddings and, you know, the circumstances that were surrounding that and those. And then, yeah, just like the family, friends, all the possibilities of, yeah, feelings and emotions and hurt feelings and undisclosed whatevers. Yeah, there's a lot. So, and I think with a wedding, it's even more so because your friends in that situation almost seem like family in regard to the way scenarios can turn out. Like some of the ones you were just talking about.
And we were adults. It wasn't like we were younger or anything. So let me ask you this. It's like, I don't even know if you know anybody who's been married several times. I think I know people maybe have been married 3 times or something, and they're going into their 4th wedding. Do you look at it differently? Do you say, I mean, like if you're not invited, if I was not invited to someone's 4th wedding, I wouldn't care.
I wouldn't care.
No. And I'm like, if you have a big old dress on your 4th wedding and a big old to-do, that seems like a lot to me.
I do. I agree.
And gifts. It's like they're all pretty established at that point.
Pretty set. Yeah, it would need to be really different, you know, the 3rd and 4th time around, I would say.
Or the 5th time.
Or the 5th, yeah. It was like Elizabeth Taylor. How many times was she married?
I think she was like 7 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one more that I wanted to read. Well, here we have one that I think is kind of an interesting question that was posed. Is it transphobic to ask my trans brother, only out to me and my parents, to wear a dress to my wedding? He wants to wear a tuxedo, but doesn't want to tell anyone about him being trans. I'm worried about it causing drama. So initially what I'm seeing here is that his trans brother was born a female, has not come out to anybody but the mom and to the sister, but wants to come to the wedding in male attire, a tuxedo.
As she has transitioned to a male now, and
correctly.
He wants to be able to live authentically.
But it's not like a known, so nobody's going to really know.
Correct. Yeah, I get that.
Who this person is. So how would you handle something like that?
Honestly, I would want my brother or sister, if they've transitioned, however they're living their life, I would include them and I would want them to show up the way that they need to show up.
Yeah.
You know, the way that they are.
Do you feel like something like
that show up authentically?
Do you think by having that person show up that nobody knows about, would that cause drama at your wedding?
It's possible. Of course, it's going to be possible. And I mean, that's a really tough situation, understandably so. And the bride is probably trying to avoid anything being detracted away from her day, which is the possibility if her now sister is now a brother and shows up in a tuxedo. And if nobody knows about it, and it depends on how they handle that. You know,
there's a reason why he hasn't come out to other people besides his sister and his mom. And this seems like not the appropriate time to have that happen. But I mean, it is what it is. It's like she's getting married. And if it hasn't happened before that, one thought is, why not talk to your fiance and have him as a groomsman?
Yeah.
Because then he'd be wearing the tuxedo. He'd be a part of the wedding. And yes, might there still be drama when people realize that this individual has been transitioned to a male? Maybe, but it's kind of their problem is the way I look at it.
There's so many circumstances surrounding what the outcome of that could be. Where's the wedding? Is it in a church? Is it in a backyard? Is it, you know, all of those things, the family, the extensions of the families, the crowd, you know, the other people. And what that is all associated with, if it's deep rooted religion and this is what my family is and these are the guests that are going to be there, that's going to be a lot to handle. That will be a lot different and a lot more to handle. But at the same time, it would be setting an example if this family were to have their sibling and child there authentically transitioned, wearing a tuxedo as they are wanting to, and showing their support for their son.
Right.
And not making it an issue. Do you know what I'm saying?
Do you feel like, okay, this I don't have an answer to this really, but do you feel like it's selfish of that individual to expect to show up in the transitioned way when nobody else knows about it?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I mean,
I'm not, and I'm saying selfish to the sister, the one that's the bride.
Right. Selfish just to do it in that setting.
Right. Like not do it otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one. That is, the setting. It's, because it is a wedding,
right.
But at the same time, it's not like he or she is coming out at that time and announcing.
Well, they kind of are they're kind of coming out without announcing.
They're just, and so to be able to do that, is for whatever reason important, and maybe even somewhat that can never be easy, but maybe it is helpful, like I said, to have your family all there surrounding you, supporting in that way, just being able to allow that person to show up how they now are.
I think a lot of the drama might relate to the other members of the family.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
What if the dad is just not cool with any of it? Like, has disowned this person? I mean, there's just so much drama that could potentially be having. That would actually, if it were me, might even prompt me to do something completely different, because I wouldn't want to be involved in all this drama. Or if my dad's, I'm not going to show up if your sister, brother shows up, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you. I believe that it's the bride and groom need to be the ones, obviously, that are making those decisions. But under those circumstances in the scenario that we have here, I would do exactly what you're saying. Yes, it might create some little ruffles or a little bit of controversy, and honestly, probably some whispering like you're talking about, because people can be really ignorant or they're not exposed to things on a regular basis, and so they don't know how to handle them. But I would honor my brother as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a very difficult situation. And I'm sure that the brother himself probably had some decisions to make as well. Like if they weren't going for him coming in the tuxedo and being authentic, then maybe he would make the decision to not go to his sister's wedding.
Yeah.
As opposed to showing up in a dress and being the sister that he's really not.
That, to me, that would be humiliating probably for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the fact that you would even put
I would never ask. I could never, like, if my sister had transitioned and was a male and I was getting married, I would never ask him to wear a dress and pretend to still be my sister.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine?
For the sake of everybody else. I would never ask that. No, I couldn't. So anyways.
Okay. Well, I think we're on the same page with that one.
Yeah.
There's this other one that I had pulled up that is someone who just needed to vent. Do you want to read this one?
So I asked my friends last May to be my bridesmaids. And I asked my maid of honor to be my maid of honor 2 years ago when my fiance asked me to get married. Well, now my wedding is 200 days away. I think it's funny that she knows. That's
a long time.
A ways, 200 days. But anyways.
But 2 years ago, she got engaged and asked her maid of honor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, within a half a year or whatever, she's asking her friends. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Some of the girls aren't responding to her text messages. I asked them all to have their dresses by March 13th. And while some girls do have them, some don't, including my maid of honor. I text the girls who didn't have their dresses yet and to see if they've gotten them. And I haven't heard from anyone in 5 days. I've had to resort to planning my bachelorette trip myself because my maid of honor is MIA. My mom is also pressuring me to kick the girls out, but I don't want to do that. I love all of them so much, but I'm afraid they're wanting out and not telling me. It's putting a lot of pressure on me and causing me to feel the most insignificant part of my wedding. This isn't what I expected, and I feel so hurt. So
I think she got a little overzealous on the invites way in advance, first of
way
all.
in advance, a lot can change in
Mhm.
that length of time. Over the course of 2 years,
Yeah.
you could have a falling out with your best friend. Who knows why? And
My hunch is that everything surrounding this person is wedding related topics. Like if they go
probably.
out to dinner, they're talking about the wedding.
Oh,
They go
yeah.
out, you know what I mean? Let's go out
Yeah.
tonight. We talk about the wedding. It's all about the wedding. And so people are probably getting kind of tired of that.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything there that really talks about the cost associated with the things that she's asking them to do.
Yeah.
But if she's planning her own bachelorette party, I mean that's kind of sad.
She might be the only one.
That's what I'm saying. It's like nobody's answering. So what are you going to do? Are you going to have the party of one?
Did you have a bachelorette party? Yeah, I did. I didn't really.
It was pretty low key.
Mine too. I mean, I was gonna say I went out with some of my girlfriends, but it was really nothing.
Yeah, we went.
I don't know,
dancing or something. I don't remember what
People
it was.
really do it up now.
I know.
We talked about some of that
They
already.
take
but yeah.
trips to different places.
Yeah.
And bachelor
But
parties,
this
same
gal,
thing.
yeah, I think she if I'm already asking maids of honor 2 years prior, that's a long time. A lot can happen.
So if I were this gal, what I would probably do is, first of all, I wouldn't be texting people because they're not responding to your text messages. Maybe this is something that warrants you picking up the phone and actually having a conversation with somebody.
These are the things that seem weird to me in some of these stories, like the brother one. He seemed an important part, but then it was like that didn't work out. These are like she loves them and they mean a lot to her because I can see her mom's point. Like, just tell them they're
blowing her off.
That's what I mean. Just like,
but see, this is what it goes back to. It's like nobody's talking to each other.
And how are they? Well, this is a whole other topic because this is how the world is now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to have conversations. We don't have to be face to face.
Well, and they might not feel like the people that are involved really might not feel like they're being valued. It's more like it's a job.
Yeah.
Is the impression that I'm getting.
Yeah.
So as that bride, I would pull that group together, maybe take them all for a nice dinner, just, kind of regroup, get everybody more excited, maybe clarify what the roles are, who's doing what's being provided, all of those kinds of things. And then just let it go.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to have a conversation about your wedding every single time you talk to your friends. They'll bring it up if they want to ask.
Yeah.
But I will venture a guess that a lot of the conversation over the last couple of years has been directly related to this.
Yeah.
And
probably.
people are just tired of it.
Over it.
They're over it. Yeah.
They probably feel like
it's kind of too bad because
yeah,
she's probably going to be kind of disappointed with how the wedding comes out unless she regroups and thinks about how to approach it differently. Or she's going to have a different type of wedding.
Get some new friends.
Get some new friends. Yeah. So these are just a few of the things that we ran across and we wanted to add to this episode or add on from the last episode with some of these stories because we just thought it would be kind of fun to do that.
Yeah. So. Prepare yourselves. All those of you getting married, there's a lot of different things that can come up. So,
and it's very fun to plan. I think it's fun to plan. Michelle's like, I can't even imagine planning something like that. I'm like, I would totally be planning that. That would be so fun.
I thought at one point when I was helping my friend Stephanie plan her wedding.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was helping to plan a wedding and there was a lot of things and it was really fun. But when I was doing that, I thought, it might be kind of fun to start a business called Take Two. Like for people getting married the second time around because there's
you just gave your idea up on.
I know. Well, there's not as much that goes into it.
We'll add that to the speakeasy and.
I know all the other things, right? Yeah. Anyways.
Okay. So if you're getting married and you don't want to have drama, just elope.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's what we got out of this. Yeah.
And if it's a second wedding, just chill for a hot minute. And if it's third or fourth wedding, elope.
Just keep it low key.
And if it's beyond that, don't tell anybody. No.
There you go. Well, I think that's pretty good advice.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Or live in sin. That's the other one.
There's that too.
Yeah. It kind of sounds appealing, doesn't it?
Yeah. A little bit of everything.
Avoid all this stuff. So where can people find us, Michelle?
They can find us all over the place. I'm talking TikTok. It's, they haven't sold it yet or gotten rid of it yet. So, we can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. And you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, all your favorite
You're missing like the most important one that just launched.
places. I was getting to it. I was saving the best for last. They can listen to us on all the places. But if you want to watch us, head on over to YouTube to A Blonde, a Brunette, and a Mike podcast, because you can watch our episodes there.
Yeah. And it's kind of hilarious. And I think we have 4, maybe 5 episodes that are on there. Nobody's looked at them yet.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even told anybody they're out there.
No, we haven't. We've just kind of been silently secret squirreling them up there and just kind of figuring it all out. So,
it took us a half an hour to figure out our microphones and headphones today. We never said we were really good at all this like techie stuff, right?
But we keep doing it.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, I appreciate you, Michelle.
Yeah,
and if I ever get married again, I'll invite you.
Oh, you better, girl. Yeah.
Because she's going to show up anyway.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not getting married again. And on that note,
everybody,
have a good one, people. We'll talk with you soon.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Bye.